First Contact Redefined. The Quantum-class starship Horizon hung in high orbit above an alien world that humanity had never contacted before. Captain Sarah Chen stood at the bridge's observation window, her dark eyes fixed on the swirling purple atmosphere below. The ship's first contact specialist, Dr. James Rodriguez, fidgeted with his collar beside her. "They're not responding to any of our standard protocols," James said, running a hand through his silver-streaked hair. 3 days of broadcasts on all known frequencies, using every first contact method in the book. Sarah's lips curved into a slight smile. Then it's time to throw away the book. The alien civilization below them, dubbed the Viridians, had achieved spaceflight, but remained mysteriously isolated. Their cities dotted the planet's surface like bioluminescent jewels, visible even from orbit. Everything about their technology suggested they should be capable of interstellar communication, yet they remained silent. "What are you thinking, Captain?" James asked, recognizing the glint in her eye. "The Galactic Council's first contact protocols all assume a certain level of technological compatibility," Sarah said, turning to face her crew. "But what if the Viridians don't think like we do? What if they don't communicate like we do?" Lieutenant Maya Patel, the ship's chief engineer, looked up from her console. "Permission to speak freely, Captain." "Always, Lieutenant. They're atmospheric processors. They're not just cleaning their air. They're using them to create patterns in the upper atmosphere. I noticed it yesterday but thought it was a glitch in our sensors." Sarah moved to Maya's station, studying the data. The Viridian atmospheric processors were indeed creating complex patterns of gas distribution, like invisible artwork painted across their sky. "They're not using radio waves or quantum entanglement for communication," Sarah said slowly, excitement building in her voice. "They're using their entire atmosphere as a canvas. Maya, can we modify our shield harmonics to create similar patterns?" The engineer's eyes widened. "It would take some creative rewiring, but yes, we'd need to reverse the polarity of our shield emitters and synchronize them with the atmospheric composition." "Do it," Sarah ordered. "James, work with Maya. See if you can identify any recurring patterns in their atmospheric communications. Maybe we can say hello in their language." For the next 12 hours, the crew of the Horizon worked tirelessly. They broke every protocol in the first contact manual, jury-rigging their advanced technology to mimic the Viridians' atmospheric art. The Galactic Council observers aboard the ship watched in horror as humans once again ignored established procedures in favor of improvisation. "This is highly irregular," Observer Zix 427 noted, their crystalline form flickering with concern. "The Council's first contact protocols have been refined over 10,000 years. "With respect, Observer," Sarah replied, not taking her eyes off the atmospheric readings. "Those protocols assume everyone thinks like the Council does. Humanity learned long ago that true communication sometimes requires thinking differently." Maya's voice cut through the tension. "Ready, Captain. The shield modifications are complete. We can create atmospheric patterns matching their basic syntax structure." "Begin transmission," Sarah ordered. The Horizon's shields pulsed, creating ripples in the Viridian atmosphere. They started simple, mathematical sequences that James had identified in the Viridians' patterns. For several tense minutes, nothing happened. Then the planet's atmosphere erupted in a dazzling display of synchronized patterns. The Viridians weren't just responding, they were celebrating. "They're sending us coordinates," James announced, his voice thick with emotion. I think they're inviting us down." Observer Zix 427's crystalline form shifted to a shade of deep blue, their species' expression of amazement. "In all our records, no species has ever achieved first contact with the Viridians. Their isolation was considered absolute." Sarah turned to the observer, allowing herself a small smile. "Sometimes, Observer, the best way to make contact isn't to follow protocols, but to learn how others see the world. Humanity's greatest strength isn't our technology or our knowledge. It's our ability to think beyond established boundaries. As the horizon prepared for descent, Sarah couldn't help but wonder how many other civilizations remained isolated simply because no one had fought to look at things differently. The Galactic Council's perfect protocols had become a limitation rather than a guide. Once again, humanity's chaotic approach had succeeded where millennia of careful planning had failed. The truth about humanity was beginning to emerge across the galaxy. We weren't just another spacefaring species. We were the ones who looked at the impossible and asked, what if we try it differently? The adaptive edge. Commander Elena Volkov stood in the Horizon's Combat Information Center, watching as 3 Kraxan warships dropped out of hyperspace. The massive vessels, each shaped like a perfectly geometric diamond, took up precise tactical positions around the human colony of New Eden. They're broadcasting their intentions, Lieutenant Marcus Wong reported from the communication station. Standard Galactic Council warfare protocols. They're declaring a formal challenge for territorial rights. Elena's jaw tightened. The Kraxan, notorious for their militant expansion, always followed the Council's ancient protocols of warfare to the letter. It made them predictable, but it also made them nearly impossible to defeat within the rules. How long until reinforcements arrive? Elena asked. 6 hours minimum, Marcus replied. We're the only military vessel in range. The Horizon, a diplomatic vessel with limited combat capabilities, was severely outgunned. But Elena hadn't spent 15 years in Earth's special forces by following conventional wisdom. Get me Chief Engineer Patel, she ordered, and patch me through to the colony's defense coordinator. Minutes later, Maya's voice filled the CIC. Commander, those Kraxan ships are running perfect formation protocols. Their shield harmonics are synchronized, their weapon systems are phase-locked. Exactly, Elena interrupted. They're perfect, too perfect. Maya, remember that shield modification we used for the Viridian First Contact? There was a pause before Maya responded. You want to use a diplomatic tool as a weapon. Commander, that's unconventional, irregular, human. Elena smiled. Get it ready. Marcus informed the colony's defense platforms to prepare for my signal, but do not power up their weapons yet. The Kraxan commander's image appeared on the main screen, their crystalline form arranged in the precise geometry that denoted military authority. You will submit to territorial challenge as per Council Protocol 7249A. Resistance outside protocol parameters will result in immediate execution of conquest rights. Elena stepped forward. This is Commander Elena Volkov of the Earth Alliance. We acknowledge your challenge. She paused, noting how the Kraxan commander's crystal facets shifted in satisfaction. However, we choose to respond according to Protocol 7249C. The Kraxan commander's form flickered in confusion. Protocol 7249C was an obscure subsection dealing with atmospheric combat conditions. It had never been invoked in space combat. There is no atmosphere in space, the Kraxan stated. Your response is invalid. Is it? Elena nodded to Maya. The Horizon's modified shields sprang to life, but instead of creating defensive barriers, they generated complex wave patterns in the space between the ships. The patterns interfered with the Kraxan's perfectly synchronized formations, creating cascade failures in their link systems. Colony defense platforms. Execute pattern delta, Elena commanded. The automated platforms around New Eden powered up, not with conventional weapons, but with gravitational pulse generators normally used for asteroid mining. The combined effect of the shield patterns and gravitational pulses created a chaotic environment that the Kraxan's rigid battle computers couldn't process. This is not within acceptable combat parameters. The Kraxan commander protested, their crystalline form shifting erratically as their perfect formation began to break down. Actually, Elena replied calmly, Protocol 7249C specifically addresses combat in non-standard environmental conditions. We're simply creating those conditions. Your move, Commander. The Kraxan ships attempted to compensate, but their synchronized systems worked against them. Each adjustment one ship made forced its companions to make corresponding changes, creating a feedback loop that grew worse with each passing second. Fascinating, observer Zix 427 noted from their position at the back of the CIC. The humans are using the Kraxan's perfect coordination against them. They're creating chaos to defeat order. Within minutes, the Kraxan fleet was forced to retreat, their perfect formations shattered, their synchronized systems in disarray. As they disappeared into hyperspace, Alina turned to the observer. "Sometimes the strongest defense isn't a bigger weapon or a better shield," she said. "Sometimes it's the ability to change the rules of engagement entirely." The observer's crystalline form shifted to a shade that the translation software couldn't quite interpret. The Council has always believed that perfect order was the key to military superiority. But today, a single human ship defeated 3 Kraxan warships by introducing controlled chaos into perfect order. "That's the thing about humanity," Alina replied, watching the last traces of the Kraxan ships fade from their sensors. "We don't try to be perfect. We adapt. We improvise. And sometimes, that makes all the difference." As reports of the encounter spread across Council space, another piece of the puzzle that was humanity fell into place. They weren't just unconventional diplomats. They were warriors who could turn established military doctrine on its head, using creativity and adaptation where others relied on perfection and protocol. Breaking the pattern. Dr. Samira Patel stood before the Galactic Council's Science Division, her prototype quantum reactor humming softly on the display pedestal. The assembled aliens, representing the most advanced civilizations in known space, watched with a mixture of curiosity and skepticism. "Your design violates 14 established principles of quantum engineering," announced Chief Scientist Zirix, their crystalline form radiating disapproval. "The containment field is deliberately asymmetrical. The power distribution network includes random fluctuations. Even the cooling system appears to be intentionally imperfect." Samira smiled, remembering her grandmother's words about cooking. "Perfect measurements don't always make perfect food." She gestured to her reactor. "Would you like to see it in action?" The Council chambers housed their own quantum reactor, a marvel of engineering perfection developed over millennia. Its steady hum was so consistent it had become part of the background noise of the facility. "We will compare outputs," declared Zirix. "Our reactor operates at 99.98% theoretical efficiency. No improvement is possible within the laws of physics." Samira activated her prototype. The hum changed, becoming almost musical as the asymmetrical containment field created harmonics that shouldn't have been possible. The power readings on the display began to climb. "Impossible," whispered a methane-breathing council member, their atmospheric suit vibrating with agitation. "Those readings exceed theoretical maximums by 23%. Only if you accept current theories as complete," Samira replied, making a minor adjustment. "We found that quantum fields respond to controlled imperfection in ways that perfect symmetry can't achieve. Like jazz compared to classical music. Sometimes the notes you don't play are as important as the ones you do." The Council's own reactor suddenly fluctuated, its perfect rhythm disrupted by resonance with Samira's design. Zirix moved to shut it down, but Samira raised her hand. "Wait," she said. "Watch what happens." Instead of failing, the Council reactor began to synchronize with her prototype's asymmetrical field. Its efficiency readings began to climb beyond their previous maximum. "You've created a symbiotic relationship between the reactors," observed Dr. Ktal, the Council's theoretical physics expert. "The imperfections in your design are actually optimizing our perfect system. This defies all established principles." "That's because your principles assume perfection is the goal," Samira explained. "Humanity learned long ago that perfection can be a limitation. Nature itself isn't perfect. It's adaptive, dynamic, sometimes chaotic. We just followed nature's example." She brought up a holographic display showing the quantum field interactions. See these patterns. They're similar to weather systems on Earth or the flow of water in a river. By introducing controlled chaos into the system, we create opportunities for the energy to find more efficient paths. But how did you discover this? Asked Xerix, their crystalline form shifting through shades of blue that indicated deep thought. Our scientists have studied quantum mechanics for thousands of years. Because we never stopped questioning, never accepted that anything was truly perfect, Samira replied. Every human scientist is taught that today's truth might be tomorrow's stepping stone. We embrace uncertainty as a path to discovery. A younger council scientist moved closer to examine the reactor. These fluctuations, they're not random at all, are they? They're orchestrated chaos. Exactly, Samira smiled. Like a jazz musician improvising within a chord structure, or a chef adjusting spices by taste rather than strict measurement. We've learned that sometimes the best solutions come from working with nature's imperfections rather than trying to eliminate them. The implications rippled through the council chamber like waves in a pond. This wasn't just about one reactor or one piece of technology. It was about a fundamentally different way of approaching science itself. Your species has been spacefaring for less than 2 centuries, Xerix noted, their tone now thoughtful rather than dismissive. Yet you found paths we never considered in millennia. Perhaps perfection has been our limitation all along. As the council scientists began examining her design in detail, Samira thought about humanity's journey to the stars. They had entered galactic society expecting to be the newcomers, the students learning from ancient civilizations. Instead, they were becoming teachers, showing the galaxy that progress didn't always follow a straight line. The truth about humanity was becoming clearer to their galactic neighbors. Humans weren't just another intelligent species fumbling their way into space. They were innovators who saw possibilities where others saw only imperfection, who found strength in adaptation rather than rigid adherence to established principles. The survival protocol. The emergency lighting cast an eerie red glow through the corridors of Research Station Epsilon. Dr. Michael Chen watched the station's environmental readings deteriorate with growing concern. Beside him, the station's alien researchers huddled near their workstations, their various physiologies showing universal signs of distress. "Main power is gone," he announced, his voice steady despite the situation. "Backup systems are failing, and we're losing atmospheric containment in sections 3 through 7. Chief Researcher Xlara, their crystalline form dimmed with worry, consulted their datapad. "According to Council emergency protocols, we must evacuate immediately. The station's integrity will fail in approximately 47 minutes. Michael studied the deteriorating systems with a different perspective. Those protocols assume we're following standard safety procedures. But what if we think about this differently? He turned to address the gathered researchers, a diverse group representing 6 different species. This station wasn't built to Council specifications. It was a joint human-alien project, which means it's imperfect, interrupted junior researcher Kaz, their insectoid mandibles clicking with sudden understanding. Like your quantum reactor designs. Exactly, Michael grinned. The Council called them flaws, but we built in redundancies, workarounds, options that wouldn't occur to someone following standard protocols. Professor Singh, remember that error in the atmospheric recycling system you complained about last month? The elderly Indian scientist's eyes widened. The feedback loop in the methane scrubbers. We never fixed it because it wasn't actually causing any problems. Michael was already moving. That flaw means we can reverse the flow of the entire atmospheric system. It won't be pretty, but it could buy us time. He turned to Xlara. We need your help. Your crystalline structure can withstand the pressure changes better than any of us. For a moment, the alien researcher hesitated, their form flickering between decision modes. This is not within standard emergency procedures. Neither is dying, Michael replied simply. Sometimes survival means breaking the rules. The next 30 minutes were a blur of activity that would have horrified any council safety inspector. They reversed atmospheric flows, cross-wired incompatible systems, and used equipment in ways their manufacturers had never intended. The methane processing unit was never designed to handle oxygen transfer, protested one of the council observers, watching in horror as they modified life support systems on the fly. No, agreed Michael, hands deep in a control panel. But it can do it. Just like this power converter was never meant to interface with your crystalline technology, but with the right modifications. He twisted two seemingly incompatible components together, and a bank of emergency lights flickered back to life. Professor Singh, working with a team of younger researchers, had turned the station's waste reclamation system into an improvised power generator. It's not elegant, she admitted, wiping grime from her face. But it's working. Elegant doesn't matter if you're dead, Michael replied, checking the environmental readings. Look, we've stabilized the atmosphere loss. Temperature's still critical in some sections, but we can seal those off. Exlera, their crystalline form now coated with various industrial fluids, emerged from an access tunnel. The structural integrity field is responding to our modifications. It's not operating within normal parameters, but it's working better than it should, Michael finished, because we're not trying to make it perfect. We're just trying to make it work. As the crisis passed and the station stabilized, the council observers gathered to document what they'd witnessed. One of them approached Michael as he was cleaning up. Your solutions violated 73 different safety protocols, they noted. They were dangerous, unreliable, and completely unauthorized. Yet here we are. Michael gestured to the still-functioning station, alive and breathing. That's what we don't understand, the observer admitted. By all standard models, these solutions should have failed. The systems you cobbled together shouldn't work at all, let alone work better than their original configurations. Michael thought about this as he watched the diverse crew of the station working together, still making adjustments and improvements to their jury-rigged systems. Maybe that's the difference between your civilization and ours. You look for perfect solutions, so you only see the ways things should work. We look for any solution, so we see how things could work. The observer's form shifted to indicate deep thought. This incident will require significant analysis. The Council's emergency protocols may need revision. As rescue ships finally arrived at the station, they found not a disaster scene, but a living laboratory of human ingenuity. The station had been transformed, its systems operating in ways that defied conventional engineering, yet working more efficiently than ever. The truth about humanity was becoming impossible to ignore. In crisis, humans didn't just survive, they innovated. They didn't just break rules, they rewrote them. And in doing so, they were teaching the galaxy that sometimes the best solutions came from embracing imperfection rather than fearing it. The final assessment. The Grand Chamber of the Galactic Council hummed with anticipation. High Counselor 6427, their crystalline form radiating authority, stood before the assembled representatives of 1,000 worlds. On the chamber floor, Earth's Ambassador Diana Rodriguez waited calmly, her silver-streaked hair and weathered face reflecting decades of diplomatic service. We have convened this special session, 6427 announced, to address the human question. Recent events have forced us to reevaluate our understanding of humanity and their place in galactic society. Holographic displays activated around the chamber, showing scenes familiar to all present. The successful contact with the isolated Viridians, the innovative defeat of the Kraxan fleet, the revolutionary quantum reactor design, and the miraculous survival at Research Station Epsilon. When humanity first achieved faster-than-light travel, we classified them as a juvenile species, 6427 continued. We expected them to follow the established path of development, to learn from our perfected systems, and eventually integrate into galactic society. A ripple of agreement passed through the assembled council members. It had seemed the logical assumption at the time. Instead, the High Counselor's form shifted to a shade of deep contemplation. They have consistently defied our expectations, not through rebellion or rejection of our ways, but through innovation. Ambassador Rodriguez stepped forward. With respect, High Counselor, we never set out to challenge the Council's authority. We simply approached each situation with our own perspective. Yes, Zix-427 agreed, and that perspective has forced us to question assumptions we have held for millennia. The Viridian incident proved that our standardized communication protocols were limiting our ability to connect with other civilizations. The Kraxan encounter demonstrated that perfect military doctrine can be defeated by adaptive thinking. The quantum reactor revolution showed us that our pursuit of perfection had blinded us to greater possibilities, and Research Station Epsilon revealed that our rigid emergency protocols might actually be endangering lives rather than saving them. The chamber erupted in discussion, thousands of alien voices debating these revelations. Zix-427 raised their form to restore order. But most importantly, they continued, humanity has shown us something we have forgotten. Progress is not a straight line. Innovation does not come from perfecting the known, but from exploring the unknown. Ambassador Rodriguez smiled slightly. On Earth, we have a saying, perfection is the enemy of progress. Yes, Zix-427's form brightened. We are beginning to understand this concept. For 10,000 years, the Council has sought to perfect our civilization through standardization, through the elimination of chaos and uncertainty. We thought we were approaching the pinnacle of development. They gestured to the holographic displays, now showing scenes of human children playing, scientists experimenting, artists creating. But humanity has shown us that there is no pinnacle. There is only the journey, the constant exploration of new possibilities. The High Counselor turned to address the full chamber. Therefore, I propose a radical change to Council policy. Instead of requiring humanity to adapt to our standards, we should learn from their example. Each member species should be encouraged to explore their own paths to advancement, to embrace their unique perspectives rather than conform to a single standard. The chamber erupted again, but this time the tone was different. Excited rather than argumentative. Species that had long suppressed their natural inclinations in favor of Council standards began to consider new possibilities. We came to the stars expecting to be students. Ambassador Rodriguez addressed the chamber. Instead, we found that every species has something to teach, if we're willing to look past our preconceptions. Humanity's gift isn't that we're smarter or more capable than other species. Our gift is that we never stop questioning, never stop trying new approaches, never accept that any solution is final. Zix-427's form shifted to a brilliant array of colors that the translation software interpreted as profound revelation. The truth about humanity isn't that they're chaotic or imperfect. The truth is that they understand something we had forgotten, that the universe itself is neither perfect nor chaotic, but a beautiful balance of both, and in that balance lies infinite possibility. As the Council session concluded, observers noted that for the first time in recorded history, the chamber's perfect geometric arrangement had broken down. Representatives clustered in organic patterns, engaging in passionate discussions about new possibilities, new approaches, new ways of thinking. The truth about humanity had finally emerged, but it wasn't what anyone had expected. Humans weren't just another species joining galactic civilization. They were catalysts, awakening the galaxy to possibilities that had been forgotten under millennia of standardization. They reminded their alien neighbors that the greatest adventures, the most profound discoveries, and the truest progress often came not from seeking perfection, but from embracing the beautiful uncertainty of exploration and innovation. As Ambassador Rodriguez prepared to return to Earth with news of the Council's transformation, she couldn't help but smile. Humanity had come to the stars hoping to find their place in the galaxy. Instead, they had helped the galaxy rediscover its own potential for endless growth and evolution.